Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ira Smith, President of Ira Smith Trustee and Receiver, Inc. First, we hope that you and your family are safe and healthy during this coronavirus pandemic. Want to let you know that Ira Smith Trustee and Receiver, Inc. is fully operational. We're doing meetings and consultations by telephone and video conference. Both Brandon Smith and myself are available to answer any questions that you might have. Today's Brandon's blog is about insolvencies in Canada. Is this the quiet before the storm? So I hope you can watch this video until the end because I know you will get value from it. So, insolvencies in Canada, is this just the calm before the storm? Insolvency filings in Canada have been going down for many years. 2019 was actually the first year there was an increase in personal filings, consumer insolvencies. There was a 9.5% increase in 2019 over 2018, according to statistics kept by the Office of the Superintendent of Bankruptcy Canada. But keep in mind, 2018, the level was so low. So although a 9.5% increase sounds like a lot, it was really starting from a very low number. In comparison, business bankruptcies and filings, insolvency filings in general, had been going down for many, many years and really reached its level in 2019. There really wasn't an increase or a decrease over 2018. It was pretty steady, both on the personal and the corporate side. In the insolvency filings, bankruptcy filings were way down, and restructuring filings, either a consumer proposal or a Division 1 proposal for companies or individuals with debts above $250,000, were way up. So there was more restructurings and less bankruptcies in 2019, and that's a very good thing. Now, the statistics for the first quarter of 2020 were that total insolvency filings were down by 5.4%. Consumer filings were down about the same, 5.5%. Business filings were 2.6% lower. In all cases, bankruptcy filings again were way down, and restructuring proposal filings were essentially flat. For personal filings, Alberta was basically flat, while the other provinces and territories had showed decreases. And in business filings, Ontario was slightly up in the first quarter of 2020. British Columbia was way up, and all the other provinces and territories were down. Then in April of this year, the effects of the economic shutdown in Canada because of COVID-19 took hold. Insolvency filings were down in April about 40% from what they were in March 2020, and this is the same for both personal and business corporate filings. And insolvency filings were down about 50% as compared to the same time period, April of 2019. The statistics out of the United States is roughly the same as in Canada, and the reasons for this are very similar between both Canada and the United States. The reasons for the decrease, in no particular order, are and include mortgage payment deferrals. People were allowed to defer principal payments, so that probably masked what could otherwise have been an increase in mortgage delinquencies. Overall, there was lower spending on credit cards because people were self-quarantined and they were only buying what they really needed as opposed to doing any impulse shopping. Various government programs have been supplying people and businesses with much needed cash in order to help them survive. So on a temporary basis, people were receiving some sort of government subsidy to help them through this time period. Through mostly moral suasion, banks, credit card companies, collection agencies were not actively pursuing delinquent accounts. They realized what was going on, all the suffering, all the pain, and frankly, none of them wanted to make the media at that time for harassing delinquent borrowers. And then finally, the closure of the courts makes it impossible to sue anyone. So of course, delinquent borrowers are feeling less pressure because of all these factors. Now the economy is slowly starting to reopen. In his very first speech as the new governor of the Bank of Canada on June 22nd, Tiff Macklem gave a speech where he said, as the economy slowly reopens, he expects there will be an initial boost or jolt to the Canadian economy from economic activity beginning again. But he also said the Bank of Canada expects this to be extremely short-lived, and then there will be a very long process, slow process of economic pain working through the system until the government can really say the Canadian economy is back to where it was. And he expects it to be a year or two of economic pain. When the economy reopens and this economic pain sets in, and the government programs, the federal government are starting to wean Canadians off of the support programs, this is where we're going to see all the pain rising to the top, because right now it's under the radar. It's there, but it's not percolating. But once the economy is fully reopened, we will see it in spades. In fact, there's certain pockets where we see government attitudes already starting to shift. British Columbia is one example. In British Columbia, they've been doing things a little differently than the rest of Canada, and their reopening is ahead of Ontario's. And business groups in British Columbia are now complaining that the Minister of Labor is not recognizing the issue of temporary layoffs that businesses had to do and the potential for many business insolvencies. Why is that? It's because under provincial employment standards laws, companies have so much time for a temporary layoff to be effective. And when that time period ends, the company either has to bring the employee back on or has to make the layoff permanent, terminate them, pay them severance. Because of the business shutdown, companies will not be able to afford, they won't have the cash to make the necessary severance payments for those employees that they just cannot ask back to work because of the level of business they're having right now, even though they're open. So the business groups in BC are trying to get the government to extend the time period that temporary layoffs can be effective. Right now, the Minister of Labor in British Columbia is not responding positively. This problem is the same in all provinces. Yesterday, June 23, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, showing that he recognized that this issue is a national issue, said that his government is going to propose a law whereby temporary layoffs can be extended by up to 6 months. Now, this is not yet legislation. It's just the Prime Minister stating what he wishes to do. If a law is enacted, then of course that will help businesses because they can extend the temporary layoffs. It's an interesting juxtaposition between federal law and provincial law because most labor issues are provincial issues. But here the federal government, according to the Prime Minister, is going to step in to extend temporary layoffs. So that will hopefully help businesses because it's going to push out the timeline for them to have to face the issue of making severance payments and will they have the cash. That announcement is good for business, but is it going to create more financial pain for individuals? Laid off employees who currently are receiving the CERB, the $2,000 monthly payment, they now have their temporary layoff potentially being extended. Now, is the government going to extend the support program to match the extension of the temporary layoff? Ultimately, at some point, the federal government is going to have to wean Canadians off of the support programs. So, a laid-off employee whose employment has been further laid off, the extension of the layoff, who's now seeing the end of government support programs eventually, what are they going to do? Well, they really just have three options. Cut back on spending as much as possible, as if they haven't already. The next thing people can do, because they'll have no choice, if they have further room on their credit cards or line of credit, they're going to have to keep dipping into it. Their debt is going to rise. That is not a good thing. And finally, if they can apply for more employment insurance benefits, they will. But that's a tedious process full of red tape, and again, only lasts for so long. There's going to be a lot of pain, and we just don't know how it's going to shake out. But as you can see, there is total interdependence between all of the support programs for business and for individuals. And if you change one, you're going to create changes on the other. At the end of the day, the economy's opened up again, the support programs will have stopped, and people and businesses are going to have to figure out how to adjust to the new normal. So I hope you found this video and Brandon's blog informative. Again, Ira Smith, Trustee and Receiver Inc. is fully operational. All meetings, all consultations, all filings we are doing by telephone and video conference. If you have any questions whatsoever about this Brandon's blog or anything else, feel free to shoot either Brandon or myself an email, give us a phone call. We would love to hear from you. In the meantime, please, you and your family, stay safe, stay healthy, stay secure.